Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. If you didn't join us for our 3 live events yesterday, we are live in the Galapagos. Darwin 200, the Uterscalde is here. It actually started in San Cristobal, so over in the east. San Cristobal is one of the oldest islands in the Galapagos. We had a week there with 4 Darwin leaders out in the field exploring and learning and working on different conservation projects. A couple days ago, we pulled anchor up and sailed took us about 6 hours to get from San Cristobal to Santa Cruz. And now we are around Santa Cruz. We're just outside of the town, Porto Ayero, and it is the largest population center in the Galapagos, about 25,000 people. It's also a hot spot for tourism. So if you joined us, we did 2 live events from the docks, the public docks, and we saw sea lions, marine iguanas, frigate birds. We saw the blue-footed boobies, Sally lightfoot crabs, pelicans. There was a lot of life just around the docks. So today we have hiked out nice and early. We got here to Tortuga Bay at about 5:30, actually closer to 5 in the morning. We hiked in to the bay, and now we're going to spend the rest of the time exploring this ecosystem together. So let me switch my camera view here and let's take a look at that ecosystem. I've got some special guests with me as well. And I've also got behind the scenes Jesse. So Jesse's back there behind the scenes. He's going to be looking for questions. Keep your questions coming in and we'll answer them throughout. We have a naturalist with us today, Colette. So that's very exciting. And then we are going to be moving with the satellite, the Starlink unit. That's how we have such a good signal right now. There's no connectivity here. Rocks behind me, I have the Starlink unit set up and we're going to move with it. So we might lose connectivity while I'm moving sometimes, but Jesse's there to make sure things are running smoothly and he will, make sure everything's going nice and smooth. In fact, our first guest of the broadcast is making their way across the rock here. We've got a Sally lightfoot crab making its way across the black lava rock. I'm going to come over here and we're going to meet Colette. We have Colette joining us today.
Hey, Joe.
Buenos dias, Colette. How are you?
Nice to meet you all. Welcome to Galapagos. This is a very special place that we're visiting today, Tortuga Bay. And I want to show you a bit of the wildlife that we have around here. Right now, we're at low tide. So you would see that we are in a sheltered, protected bay that is surrounded by mangroves. You can also see like the height of the tides with the mangrove leaves, like the very side line that we have there. And this is a very important area for most of the marine species because this would be like a nursery. In between the mangroves, we have tons of fish that will come and lay their eggs. You just saw the crabs. We have some oysters that will be attached to the rocks. And also we have tons of little sharks. Baby sharks are swimming all over the place. You can take a look at these fish that we have down there, Joe. Show it to them. We have some mullets here. Oh no, snappers, little snappers, something like that. And baby sharks are just kind of jumping all around the place. We have black tip reef sharks are the most common ones that we can see here. And this is like their nursery. So these are very important areas that we need to protect and preserve. Mangroves being ecosystems that are absolutely essential for the whole marine ecosystem.
Yeah, and it just figures, Colette, we've had the baby reef sharks all morning. And once we go live, so we're going to be patient. We're going to wait here for a little bit because they are here. We see turtles kind of surfacing on the lagoon. There's probably some rays over there. So we are going to move around a little bit, but I do want to wait here for just a couple minutes and see if we get a couple of those baby black tip reef sharks cruising through because we always like to show sharks here with Darwin 200, the world's most exciting classroom. Well, we do wait for a couple minutes for the sharks, hopefully to cruise through. Let's talk a little bit about just Tortuga Bay in general. The beach that we had to walk across was quite a beautiful beach. It was stunning.
So yes, in Galapagos we have different kinds of beaches and also specifically different kinds of colors. So this is a beautiful white sand beach that is made out of coral that has been digested by the parrotfish. So you see the texture is a classic flower kind of feeling, very, very soft sand. And this would be made just of the coral that has been digested by the parrotfish. We have other kinds of beaches in the Galapagos. Mostly it's lava around here. So lots of black beaches or red beach for the content of iron. We also have a green beach with olivine crystals. So it's quite fantastic that we have such a wide range of ecosystems here. And Tortuga Bay, because it has two beaches, this protected one that we have here that is such full of wildlife. And then we have the one that we will go to, which is the more exposed part of the beach, and there has lots of surf. And there we will be looking also for the marine iguanas.
Yeah, we took a little walk around this morning just to kind of scope out where some of the life is. As we make our way towards Tortuga. Okay. Oh, we got one. Okay, let's see if it'll cruise by right in front of us.
Excitement.
All right.
There we go.
Come on, turn this way. So hopefully you can see it. It just turned the opposite direction of us, but maybe it'll turn around and come back. But there is a baby black-tip reef shark just out there. And with any luck, before we pick up the unit and walk through the cactus forest, we are going to have... Oh, yeah, it's turning back around. Come on, buddy.
It's coming. It's coming.
Come on. All right. So hopefully it's going to come nicely into camera view. We have such a clear signal here, I think, right now. And you should be able to see that baby black-tip reef shark cruising through the shot right now. Jesse, if you want to pop in for a sec, just let me know how the feed is looking. We still have a nice clear shot?
Yeah. It's like the greatest feed of all time. It's unbelievable.
Here comes another
clear.
one. Yeah, beautiful. Starlink. We love it. So here's a couple of them now. Yay. You see the black tip on their dorsal fin. All right. So they're being a little shy, but they came out for showtime. So that's good. So how long will they stay in a protected area like this, Colette?
This is, I don't know, honestly. I haven't been updated with the latest science, but these are basic, like super important ecosystems that we have.
Yeah.
Also, quite fascinating is one of the latest discoveries. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was an official announcement that the National Park found another nursery for hammerheads.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we usually have the scalloped hammerheads in Galapagos, and this was a nursery. I mean, there were lots of smooth hammerhead babies.
Yeah.
So this is a new species that will be recorded that is actually using this as a place to reproduce. So this will be fascinating that the place has been kept like secret because we don't want anyone to come and interfere.
Yep.
But this is the fascinating news that happen all the time with science, is that there's new discoveries.
Absolutely.
Continuously.
And we're going to keep our fingers crossed because the other day, some of the Darwin 200 cameramen were here and they saw a few of the baby hammerheads. So you never know. We might get lucky. Before we leave this spot, Colette, I'm going to get a little closer to some of these Sally lightfoot crabs. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the Sally lightfoot crabs?
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. Look at those.
Beautiful color.
These are big ones. So the Sally lightfoot crab is a crab that you find pretty much all along the tropics. And in Galapagos, well, it has adapted to this really like... Oh, my God, this one is getting so close.
Oh, yeah, we have a nice close one.
There you go.
All right.
Sharky.
Went from none to more than we know what to do with.
Yes, and the Sally lightfoot crabs, the smaller ones will be completely black and will blend in really well with the background, the lava. Yep. So they can be protected and camouflaged away from herons, which is like the main predator. Once they grow big and they don't really have any predators because the shell becomes so hard that they will afford they will be able to keep these super bright colorations. You can see that there's another one coming through.
Yeah, there's a young one, right?
With the black one, yeah. So basically, it's more like the age of the shell because, you know, these animals, they shed. Okay, yeah. So they come out of their old shell when it's kind of like getting too small, and it will start with a like soft shell that will harden up. Yeah. I know in some places you will eat the soft shell crabs. Basically, it's that they catch them when they just come out of their shell, and then the shell will harden up, holding up a little bit of water and air in between the shell and the skin until that house becomes too small and they will shed again.
Okay.
So lots of times we can find those shells around.
All right. Well, I say we get a little bit adventurous. So as I mentioned, we are going to be moving with the satellite unit. Now, in Punta Arenas, we were ripping along the coast in a Zodiac, and we had pretty good signal. We saw the Peel's dolphins jumping along the front in the bow wave of the Zodiac. With any luck, as we move through this cactus forest, I'll give you a little view of it here. And as we head towards another section of the beach, the signal will stay with us. If it doesn't, don't panic. Once we get to clear sky, we should get the signal back. And we do have Jesse hiding out backstage, and he will be there with us as well. One more look here. We've got one more baby blacktip reef shark cruising through. There we go. I was worried they would be no-shows, but they came out at just the right time. Okay, so this is new for us as well, carrying the satellite unit while we walk. So bear with us. It might get a little bit shaky as we're putting our backpacks back on. But the plan is, you can see our Starlink right there, is to carry this unit with us, and we will see how things go. Okay.
So how are we going to do this?
Yeah, we're going to grab my backpack. And do you want to hold the camera for a little bit? If you hold the camera, I can carry most of the satellite gear, I think. Yeah. And just face it nice and forward for us. There. And I can do this. Yeah.
And the battery.
And then I can take the battery too. Yeah.
Oh, Beto, tú puedes coger la batería.
Yeah. If you hold the camera.
Should I be ahead of you or behind?
Yeah. Gracias. Okay. Yeah.
Ahead or behind you?
We're good. Okay. So, Colette, as we start walking, let's talk a little bit about the cactus forest.
Yes. So we have this beautiful cactus forest here. These are cactuses of the Galapagos, and they're very tall. Okay. And they're quite special because look at this. This is super hard bark. So these cactuses have changed from this tip when they're like really young with all the spikes facing downwards, protecting themselves from the predators, which would be the land iguanas and the giant tortoises. So the islands where you have those kind of animals, then the natural selection has made that only the taller, stronger cactuses will survive, because this is like puff pastry, comes in layers, and even an iguana with the sharpest claws would not be able to kind of climb on it.
So Colette, when they're young, you showed me how they have all of the thorns on the trunk. How old are they when they get kind of this nice kind of protective bark layer?
Oh, these are going to be over 100 years old. Wow. Yes. Very long-lived cactus. Here we have a very clear example on how the bark is now produced, and then the spines will go away, and then it will be protected so the animals don't eat it. But then you have this cactus forest is the classic ecosystem that we have in what we call the dry zone. So immediately after the coastal zone or the mangrove area, then immediately as you go in, you get into the dry zone, mostly represented by these cactus and the palo santo, which is the equivalent to the incense tree or sandalwood.
If you look up, Colette, we have a Galapagos mockingbird on that.
Oh yeah, let's take a look. Can you see that little bird there? That will be a mockingbird, Galapagos mockingbird. Let's see. Okay, cool. Little song for us. And then this is also an area where we could be finding the cactus finch, one of the Darwin finches. As you can see, these cactus are called the opuntia cactus. The common name would be prickly pear cactus, which is given by the shape, by the fruits. These fruits here are what the iguanas and giant tortoises will love eating about, and also will have some nice flowers.
So Colette, we're about to go through a covered area. It'll take us about 10 seconds. We're going to try and go really fast.
Okay.
So the satellite unit doesn't get upset with us.
Lost it. And we're back.
Beautiful. Should we maybe wade around in that little beach? Do you want to try that? See if we see anything?
Okay.
To the main beach.
So we have two beaches here. The one that is protected and sheltered with the mangrove. This is a kind of mangrove that grows a little bit more inland. We have 4 species of mangroves in the Galapagos. They're all adapted to slightly different and spreading. And then we have black mangrove, is the one that will bring the little kind of snorkels, the tubes, the roots that come back to the surface.
Yeah.
To kind of intake the air. And then on this side, all this area is the button mangrove. You can recognize it easily because of the fruits that we have here.
Okay. I'm gonna put the unit down here by this mangrove.
Okay.
Look around a little bit and just see if we see anything.
Perfect.
So yeah, let's put it right here. There we go. All right,
So
let's get in the water. Thank you, thank you. Okay, let's see. I'll try not to get too far from the unit because it only goes for so long, but let's see if there's anyone close to shore. Some little schools of fish. Hard to see in the camera, but there's little all over the places, little jumping in the water, little things coming to the surface. Sometimes the sea turtles come up for a breath. The fish are jumping a little bit. But we got a little group of fish here. I don't see anything bigger. Okay. All right, let's head back to Tortuga Bay, where we know we have some marine iguanas waiting for us and some other species on the beach. So one last look here at this mangrove. What species was this, Colette?
We have the one with the drop roots or the red mangroves.
Yep.
And then we have the white mangrove here that has a slightly more oval leaves.
The white mangrove here, yeah.
We have red, black, and button mangroves. Those are the 4 species that we find in the Galapagos.
Okay.
This one is the white one. Small oval leaves.
Oh, I do see a question coming here. Okay. I see. So they're hearing this called Tortuga. They're wondering if there's any relation to kind of the way Tortuga's been, portrayed as a pirate hangout, as yeah.
No, the name Tortuga Bay comes from the fact that we have a lot of turtles, sea turtles nesting on this beach.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that area in a minute, and we'll be showing you, but that's the origin of the name Tortuga Bay because it's the bay of the turtles that come and nest.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's about it.
All right, let's gather up our gear and let's go for a little walk. Yeah. Sure. There we go. Teamwork.
Okay, so we're gonna walk a little bit to the other side. We have almost 2 different beaches. This one that is very calm and quiet and protected, where you have most of the wildlife that will be using this place as a nursery or a reproducing area. And now we're gonna get to the rough beach or the wavy beach.
Yeah.
And we have a little friend here waiting for us.
Perfect.
Take a look at this marine iguana. There it is. We can have a close look. We have to remember the rules in Galapagos. We do not get any closer than 2 meters to the animals to give them their space. We have to remember that we are the intruders and we have to respect their environment.
Yeah, so this, compared to yesterday, this is a much larger marine iguana than we were seeing on the public docks.
Because the ones we saw on the public docks are the babies, okay? And more in this area. I mean, babies and adults don't usually mingle in the same areas. And babies will stay in the rocky areas where they can protect themselves in the cracks and crevices from the herons. Like, for example, the great blue heron we saw yesterday, that will prey on baby iguanas.
Okay.
So then they will have to kind of run for their life and hide into the cracks and crevices.
Coverage again. It may go out for a moment, but the Starlink is pretty good at coming back.
Yeah.
Quickly.
That's great.
Still have some sky.
So we have tiny little tracks, but these little trails are from the ghost crabs. Hermit crabs.
Okay.
Hermit crabs that we have different species. We have some land species that live inside this vegetation and that will go out at night. And those are the little tracks that look like a wheel, like a bike wheel.
Yep.
That's what it is. Perfect. We're back. way, Joe, or we go straight
Yeah,
here?
let's go to the iguanas.
Yes. So these iguanas, they need rocky shorelines, but you look in the distance right behind these mangroves, we have quite a rough, rocky shoreline with lots of waves breaking that you can hear, meaning that there's a lot of algae growing there. And so that's why we have so many iguanas and they're quite large. Now it's only 7 a.m. here. Here's one of the little hand crabs. Okay. And it's only 7 a.m. here. These are reptiles. So what we call easily the cold-blooded animals. So they won't be active anymore. They will have to wait a little bit until their body temperature rises to the right level, and then they can start becoming more and more active. So these iguanas are yeah, we're back. Okay, so these iguanas here are just warming up and they're just waking up. There's a bunch of iguanas that we have here at the beach, and they're all kind of sandy, so this is kind of funny. But you can see these are mostly males. You'll recognize the males easily because of the spikes and the spines that are growing all along their body. And we can see that there's quite a few back there in the vegetation. So basically, these reptiles, being kind of cold-blooded, they will gather up together at nighttime and kind of like get one on top of each other. There's the one that is just slightly starting to get active.
Coming down.
Yes, but right now their body temperature has dropped during the nighttime.
Yeah.
So they will have kind of like recharge the batteries, just expose themselves to the sun, so they will be able to have their body temperature raised to the right level, and then they can start becoming more and more active. Now, what does it mean being more active for an iguana? Is mostly going out and feeding, and so they'll be warming up until maybe 10, 11 in the morning, just trying to get the right temperature. These are bigger ones. These are males. So this means that they can stay longer underwater and they can cover like they can stay longer. So they will kind of accumulate that heat into their bodies and then go into the cold Galapagos waters because the algae they feed on is a cold water algae. So basically, that's another challenge because with the global warming and the Nino phenomenon happening more and more often, then we have a lot of changes in the water temperature, mostly like warm water coming instead of the cold water, meaning that these algae that they feed on will not be available anymore, and a lot of them are quite skinny compared to how they normally are because they're struggling to find enough food for themselves at the moment. And we actually just passed by one that was already dead.
Yeah, so they are having a rough time getting the food that they need. These ones look relatively healthy compared to some of the ones we saw down there.
That were really skinny and
yeah,
see all the
skinny.
ribs.
Yeah.
Yes, but in other times we can see a really like big round belly.
Yeah, so that's a point that I want to make that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Is an adaptation that they do have to kind of tougher conditions is they can shrink a little bit. They can use some of their body resources.
Adaptation that was discovered a few years ago, that basically these animals in the worst of the conditions, they were able to kind of shrink a little bit their size, so their total body length, by absorbing some of the cartilage in between the vertebrae.
Yeah.
And by being smaller, there is less need of food, so they would be a natural selection to surviving into these rough times.
Yeah. And so one more thing worth mentioning, as I see this one in front of us, moved a little closer.
Yes.
There's some little bits of water dripping from the nose. Can you tell us a little bit about how they get the salt out of their body?
Okay, so these are very unique species, and they've gone through 7 major different body changes. And one of them is that they have a salt gland that is connected to the nostrils, by which they will expel the excess of salt that they ingest while they're trying to feed on the algae. No? So another trait is like the flattened tail that you can really see. It's flattened on the sides. This will give them better propulsion in the water, so they will put their limbs along their body, and that's it. And they'll swim with the tail just like a snake. This is a very good close-up. Look at these claws and fingers that are so long and strong. because these iguanas will be feeding right under the waves where there is the most action with the waves, meaning that you'll have a lot of more oxygen in the water, meaning that you have the algae that will be growing there. So they have to anchor themselves onto those rocks. And then the mouth, instead of being pointy, is kind of flattened. So they can have more surface to scrape the algae off. So these are some of the few fascinating traits.
So it's quite a bit louder here now because, as you can see, we are at the more open beach. You can see this beautiful flower-like powder sand stretching all the way out. It's low tide right now, right?
Yes.
Yep, low tide. And the high tide comes all the way up to these dunes. Let's go look over here and talk about why that's a problem. What's happening?
Okay, as you can see, so someone else was asking why we call this place Tortuga Bay. Well, here it is. This is a nesting ground for the sea turtles, Pacific green sea turtles. They have used this place as a nesting ground for centuries, probably. Okay, and actually we have what may have been left of a nest. Okay, now the issue is that with global warming and the water level raising, then
Just a quick note for folks at home. We've temporarily lost them, as you can see, but we should be back with them in just a second. While we're waiting for that, I can queue up a few videos for you guys of some of the amazing wildlife that they've been seeing off the coast of the Galapagos the last few days. Again, this is just part 3 of our 8-part series live in the Galapagos over this week, where Joe and the team, the world's most exciting classroom, are on site at a variety of amazing spots from the port, the dock, to Tortuga Bay today. Let me queue up one of those videos. We're going to get them back in just a second, and we'll highlight a little bit of green sea turtle action as befits the beach we were just on. Let's play this video from a little bit of a dive journey the other day. Very, very cool. As Joe stated at the beginning of the broadcast, it's quite amazing when you're on the Galapagos Islands just how much wildlife is around. If you got the chance to check out the YouTube link of the world's most exciting classroom broadcast the other day, you'll see that literally on the dock we had sea lions, pelicans, boobies, frigate birds, marine iguanas, Sally lightfoot crabs, and more. Some of the creatures we've had the chance to check out today. I'm going to cue up a little hammerhead video in a minute, but I just wanted to highlight again, worldsmostexcitingclassroom.com. If you guys want to check out more of the broadcast, find out what's to come in the week. In this week, we're only on Tuesday. We've got a lot more to come. You can check out that broadcast link. It'll all be on YouTube for people to find it definitely as well. And it looks like we might be back live with Joe and Colette. Hey, guys.
We are back. So let me turn the camera around. I'll show you guys what happened. We have to carry everything out here. The satellite unit, and then the satellite unit has its own battery pack. And so, for whatever reason, the battery pack down here on the right decided to turn itself off. So we had to restart it really quick. But no problem. Let's go back to our sea turtle talk.
Okay.
Beauty.
About why this place is called Tortuga Bay. So many turtles try to use this place because if you know, actually the turtles, they will always come back to the same nest where they were born to lay their eggs. So basically this is extremely important to protect every one of those beaches because you're protecting all the future generations here. And in this case, we have an issue because with the global warming, basically the water is going way higher all the way to the edge of these sand dunes, and they used to be much lower in height, and so we had turtles' nests everywhere. In this case, even as a way of prevention, this wasn't enough for the water to get over, and probably will change the temperature of the I mean, the eggs will get wet and then probably will not nest. Here's one of the intents of these sea turtles trying to get a nest done there, but pretty much now impossible to go up.
Can't
the
get up
sand
those
dunes.
dunes.
So this
No.
is one of the challenges that we have straight that we can definitely see here in Galapagos with the global warming happening and the water level rising.
Yeah. So we've talked about some threats like the global warming, like the sea levels rising. And now we're going to talk, you have one of your colleagues here with us. We're going to talk a little bit about microplastics on the beach.
Yes, so there is a collective, a community collective here that is called the Frente Insular. It's one of them really because we have quite a few. And Frente Insular is led by Alberto that is going to talk to you right now about the concerns we have with the plastics that are being washed ashore and all the contamination that we have with the plastic and how it's affecting directly the Galapagos.
Yep.
If you want to come on this side, Joe,
get the better light. Yep. And so
introduce you to Alberto.
Yeah.
Hola,
Hola, Alberto.
¿Qué tal? Buenos días. Un placer. Estamos aquí en una de las playas más hermosas del mundo, la playa de Tortuga Bay, y quiero compartirles una problemática mundial. Galápagos es un patrimonio, uno de los mejor conservados del mundo, pero no por eso podemos decir que está libre de contaminación plástica.
Okay, so welcome and introducing himself. And today what we want to share about is a very specific concern that is about this pristine place that we have in the Galapagos, but not because it's been protected or anything like that. It escapes away from the global issues that we have with plastic all over the oceans.
¿Quieres conocer cómo llega la contaminación plástica a Galápagos? Te lo voy a indicar.
Okay, so if you want to know about how plastics come to Galapagos, now we're going to explain this to you. Joel, you want to come on the other side so you have the map on the right side?
Ecuador está a 1,000 kilómetros, Galápagos está a 1,000 kilómetros del Ecuador continental.
So Ecuador is 600 miles away from Galapagos, or the Galapagos Islands are located 600 miles away from Ecuador. We're right on the equator. Okay.
Y Galápagos tiene influencia de muchas corrientes, como por ejemplo la corriente de Humboldt.
So we have an influence of many different currents. For example, from the south of Chile and going along the coast of Peru, we have the Humboldt current that comes up and then turns on the equator.
Y estas mismas corrientes día a día nos traen arrastrando mucha contaminación plástica de diferentes países.
So the same currents that come and feed the islands also bring with them plastics from all over the world with all different types. We're going to talk about it.
Localmente, el Parque Nacional Galápagos, en alianza con Conservación Internacional, desarrolla una actividad de limpieza costera.
So locally, together with the National Park System, then they will be with the community. There will be coastal cleanups that are regularly organized to kind of like take as much plastic as we can and protect a little bit more the environment.
Y nosotras como comunidad estamos preocupados por este gran problema global.
So as a community, we're very concerned about these issues that are global but that are affecting us directly.
Oh, a little finch popped
The
behind.
little Darwin finch on both sides.
En Galápagos hay dos reservas marinas. La Reserva Marina de Galápagos, que fue creada en el año 98, y la Reserva Marina Hermandad, que fue creada en el año 2022.
Okay, so in Galapagos we have two marine reserves. This first one was created in 1998, and basically it's anywhere from the coast you have to cover 40 miles, and this will be the most back on those days in 98 it was one of the largest marine reserves that was established with over 130,000 square kilometers. And now, just 2 years ago, there was a new marine reserve that was created, and it's called Hermandad.
Okay, como Colette les ha explicado, Galápagos tiene una increíble cantidad de vida, pero también fuera de Galápagos hay la vida que muchos quieren, que es la pesca comercial. Por eso vienen barcos de otras partes del mundo a pescarlas, como la flota internacional.
Okay, so basically, yes, we have so many things that are interesting for Galapagos, but a lot of industries are interested in what we have in Galapagos, and this is the industrial fishing float or fleet that we have that is usually just stationed outside these 40 miles, just making a line and waiting for all these fish and other species to just come out and then just they do some illegal fishing or just like really kind of getting trapped. And at the same time, there is living proof of all the different countries that we have with all the different language, so we can have a lot of Asian
Korea, Asia,
products.
Tailandia.
So we're very concerned about this because this is kind of new. We didn't have it a few years ago. We didn't have any of these tags coming from Asia.
Toys.
And now we're even wondering if it's just a Asian fleet that is stationed there and that is just dumping everything overboard.
Exactamente, ellos botan por la borda y recordar que estas flotas están fuera de los países y fuera de Galápagos, no están dentro pescando, pescan en el mar abierto.
So yeah, just remember that these fleets, the industrial fishing fleets, will be outside in the international waters, but they're directly affecting also our areas that are protected because obviously we cannot protect 100% of the ocean.
Yeah. Por ejemplo, esta es una botella que hemos recogido en una de las limpiezas que participamos como voluntarios del Parque Nacional, pero con el sol sucede esto.
Okay, so for example, that one bottle that Alberto was showing is one that we collected from the coastal cleanup. But then with the sun and everything, this is what happens. It will break into smaller pieces, which will then become these smaller and smaller bits and pieces that will directly affect most of the species. Marine species will be feeding through it, they will be eating and ingesting these, and then they will not be able to breathe anymore or to just starve to death because their stomachs are full of this plastic.
Son muchas toneladas que la actividad de limpieza costera que desarrolla el Parque Nacional desde el año 2017 al año 2024 son aproximadamente 94 toneladas de plástico que han sacado de la
Yep. Okay, so according to the data that we have from 2017 to today, we have collected about 90 tons of trash, plastic trash, out of the islands through these coastal cleanups that involve the local community and that are on a periodic time. Every once in a while we will.
Por eso y ya para terminar, es importante que ustedes que están al otro lado del mundo hagan conciencia, porque aunque parezca que estamos muy lejos, en realidad estamos muy cerca.
So for all of you that are watching this from all over the world, this is really important that you become aware of this situation and that you can act locally to protect globally, and that it's very important that we all understand about this, especially the younger generations that may be watching here. This is a way to protect the planet that is going to be left behind you, for you, and so these are the real concerns, and you can get involved into local communities that will be helping or reducing the quantity of plastic that you use at home, and these kind of things that can help preserve a little bit more our planet.
Y necesitamos voluntarios como tú para que no solamente en Galápagos, sino en todo el mundo hagan acciones de conservación para cuidar este hermoso planeta.
All right.
We need volunteers like you there that will be starting to just spread the word and do small actions into your community that will be an impact on the global. So be there and save the planet.
All right. Gracias.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have one more stop. We're going to head over to a little natural pool over here. It's kind of like a little aquarium, but it's going to be a little too far away from the satellite unit. So I'm going to pass you the phone again, Colette, and I'm going to pick everything up. Okay. I'm going to dust this beautiful flowery sand off, this beautiful white sand, and let's move over a little bit.
Okay. So we have an iguana here, and we're going to get closer. Right now we have low tide, so you're going to be able to really see the tide difference with the mangroves. The mangroves here show you very clearly how high or low the water goes. We have about 2 meters difference in the spring tides in Galapagos, and we have 2 high tides a day, meaning that we have 2 low tides too. So it's pretty much a 12 hours setup. And in this area here, we have a nice little protected area. As you can see, it makes like a natural pool, isolated from the big surf area with all the waves. And here, this is very special because at low tide, there is no more access. So lots of times, some of the species, even the little baby sharks and turtles and all that, will end up being stuck in this area, and then we can watch them. We have a lava heron there that just flew away from those people. Okay, those are the ones that will feed mostly on the baby crabs, on the little black crabs that we have. Maybe you can drop it here. And now we're going to take a look at what we may find in the water. If you want to drop the camera again, Joe.
Absolutely. It's like a little natural aquarium here.
Okay, so here you have quite a few different fish species. Specifically, the darker one with the yellow tail is quite easy to recognize. You may go a little further this way. These are called the yellow-tailed damselfish. And yellow-tailed damselfish, or damselfish in general, are really interesting fish because they're like the farmers of the ocean. They will grow their own little patch of algae, and they will not allow anyone else to get through their produce, you know. So they're very productive of their own little patch of algae, kicking all the other fish away, even kicking their buddies and friends away, or even like when we have a sea urchin that is coming around the area, they'll go like really like into pushing it away. So it happens quite often that I will go snorkeling like that, and then maybe I'm holding onto a rock, and suddenly I feel this push on my finger is actually the little damselfish with its mouth just trying to move her hands away from their garden of algae. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's one of the species. In these kind of places, we see a lot of small, young phases of most of the fish. So we have quite a few more silvery fish around here, but some of them are not 100% easy to recognize. We do have some puffer fish, bullseye puffer here. These little ones that are sitting on the bottom. I don't know if you can see them, Joe.
They blend in really well. They have good camouflage.
So they camouflage. We have another kind that is called the lizard fish. That actually is more like a blending it like a chameleon, like changing colors according to the background.
Yeah.
Take a look at the silvery ones we have here. And blue-footed boobies that are flying up there that may be going diving. As you can see right behind or below the blue-footed boobies, there is a lot of waves breaking. Well, that's the area where the iguanas will go to feed. So right now we have super low tide, and we just saw an iguana that was swimming. That's a bit early swim. A lot of the iguanas will wait and synchronize for the low tide, so they will not lose as much energy, because then if there's low tide, the algae are uncovered and they can graze on them without getting cold. But then the bigger ones, the larger males, usually will swim out around noon and go under those waves and the surf area and dive down to feed on the algae, which are actually the same ones that the damselfish protect.
Yeah.
So basically, when you find an iguana just like munching there, then the damselfish will all be chasing it, trying to get it to go away.
Okay. I'm going to try. The water's so clear here. I'm going to try and just dip my camera lens into the water and see how that works. It can't go very deep because hopefully we're getting a little view underwater here. Wi-Fi only travels a very short distance through water, only really a couple centimeters. So we can only really get a glimpse of that underwater aquarium from the surface. Let's go under one more time here. So hopefully we can see some of those damselfish swimming.
We sure can, Joe. It's very cool.
Perfect. All right. Jesse, we're getting to the point where we're going to have to wrap up here shortly. But it was such a pleasure to be able to broadcast live here from Tortuga Bay, an absolutely amazing place here on Santa Cruz in the Galapagos. Only possible with our satellite unit, which we have set up back there on the beach. I'd say that was pretty successful carrying it around. Oh, we might have a visit from some lava herons here. Let's see how close they come. Well, that was a pretty good buzz by. Very cool. All right. Well, I want to give a shout out to our team today. Thank you so much for being live with us. You guys were amazing. We learned so much about this ecosystem, the baby black-tip reef sharks, the marine iguanas, the sea turtle beaches, the plastic issues. We learned so much today. Thank you so much for being live with us.
Thank you everyone for watching, and hopefully you will be a little bit more aware of what's going on in the world, and you can do it. Any little action that you do at home will help somehow protecting the planet.
Y los esperamos acá en Galápagos.
And hopefully we get to see you here in Galapagos. Welcome.
Of course. So I'm going to switch the camera here one more time because I just want to let people know tomorrow will be our regular linked World's Most Exciting Classroom. We are going to be live on the Oosterschelde. We are sailing to Bartolome, which is a beautiful island. It'll take us about 3 hours to get there. So we're going to have our regular World's Most Exciting Classroom event, a full hour with the experiments, with guest speakers. And if we're lucky, we'll be arriving at the island about the time it ends. If not, we'll live stream our arrival because it is a really cool island. So if you go to worldsmostexcitingclassroom.com, you can see all the events we still have coming up, and you can choose to tune into those events right on that page. Click play on the ones that passed. You'll find the recordings. Click play when they go live. You'll be brought right there with us, and you'll see the ones that are coming up for the future. Jesse, thanks for all your help behind the scenes. And we're going to sign off from Tortuga Bay. I think I'm going to get into that water and see if I can find some sea turtles, some baby hammerhead sharks. I'm going to cruise around a little bit, and I'll have some video to share with us as well, maybe tomorrow. So thanks, everyone. Signing off